You ready? Anyone have a ball they want to throw at me? Is it too late? You guys aren't laughing. Or just too dark? Oh, okay. So, who's come to one of my talks before and sat through one of them? Just show of hands. Show of hands, real high? Okay, you people like to suffer. Who's never seen one of my talks before? Yeah, you people are going to suffer. So we're going to talk about STEM is the new STEM. But first, I do want to thank CypherCon. This is the first time I'm ever giving an opening keynote. It's a very exciting opportunity for me. And I really have a lot of exciting information to share. But I'm going to try to leave some time for questions, but we have about 25 minutes. So I'm going to go through the material kind of quick. So if you could please save your questions to the end, I'd appreciate it. But also, CypherCon, like Mike said, right? It takes a village. It takes a village to put something like this together. Volunteers, the community. It also takes a village to train future hackers and InfoSec people. Quick look into who I am. I just don't really do one particular thing in my life. I have several different hats that I wear. In addition to working at Mobile Iron in senior manager for security and privacy, and that job is actually a lot more exciting than it sounds. I'm also the president of Hack for Kids. I'm a first LEGO league coach. I'm an assistant scoutmaster, assistant cub master, den leader, merit badge counselor for the list that's up there. If you're into scouting or a scouter, I'm wood badge trained, which I just completed. I'm a camp director for a camp that has up to 500 people, and I'm also on the Northeast Illinois Steering Committee for STEM. If you want to talk to me about any one of these things or just say, what's up, you can reach me. There's my contact info on the bottom. But it takes a lot of time, a lot of effort, but I can't really do any of these things in my life that I do without the support of my family. So we brought him here today. They're all up there in the front row. This is when we won the DerbyCon badge, which we also donated to Hack for Kids to fund future events. And we did a family photo. You can see grandma's in there, and we're having a good time showing off the badge.
One, 4, 9, 2. Okay. And 1492.
Is it okay to share your password with people?
Yeah.
I'm sorry, what'd you say?
Yeah.
Adorable. You can meet him. He's in the front row today. So when you see somebody using a mobile device these days, and we know how easy they are to use. I think back then Benny might have been 2.5 or 3, and yet he didn't really speak much. But whenever he spoke, it was to unlock his tablet, and he would, as you could see, say the passcode out loud. And it took us about a year to teach him, first, to not do that, second, to change his passcode, so then only he and I would know it, and he would even tell Mommy he can't share it with her, which I think is actually great progress. But who do your customers that you work with or that you support, does this remind you of them in any way? Sharing passcodes when they shouldn't be? Simple passcodes on mobile devices? Well, even the future generation, as they're learning how to protect their privacy and data and keep themselves from not becoming a victim, there's still a lot of adults that are victims. It really kind of comes down to awareness or training, however you want to call it, whatever term you prefer. But this is the big part of it. It's always the human element. The technology is just a tool. It's us. We're the weakness. And we have to start teaching youths and adults and seniors about the best practices that we all know and pretty much just do instinctually nowadays. Once you've been trained, you know what to do. So we have to teach them. I'm going and playing the long game by teaching kids. So now, on to the topic. So, show of hands, who's heard of STEM? Maybe I should say who's not heard of STEM. Right. Science, technology, engineering, and math. It was created back in 1997 by the National Science Foundation when they were putting out grants to foster these types of disciplines and methodologies within education, whether it's university or high school or middle school. So they were providing a lot of funding to help this nation catch up with other nations in the world that were leading us. And then in 2010, somebody came out with a website that's called STEAM, not STEM, because they believe art should also be included. And I'm not saying it shouldn't, but just kind of the whole history of how the acronym has been changing. And there's a valid point to that. But are we really falling behind in art? Yes or no? We can have that debate later. And then 2014, Rob Furman wrote an article for the Huffington Post where he's saying, no, it's not STEAM, it's STREAM, which includes reading. So, again, another important skill to have. Benny, back in that video, not able to read, but can definitely get into his tablet to watch a YouTube video. Doesn't take much skill there, right? But that's the point. We do need to have our youths and adults reading more. The old acronym RTFM. We need to do it more. But, I'm still focusing really on STEM. And then there's another one I just heard about. There's a grant now from NSF called STEAM-C, which includes computing. And that's also kind of, I guess, technology and engineering, but they have ones very specific for computing. The prior administration also felt very strongly about this because in 2015, he put out something. I'll just read it in case you can't see it. Well, it's big enough, but science is an approach to the world, a critical way to understand and explore and engage with the world, and then have the capacity to change that world. Does that remind you of anything? Where are we at? Think about it. He went even further and then authorized $250 million to be made available for grants for education with STEM and for STEM, in addition to what they've already been doing since 1997. That's pretty cool in my opinion. And today, there's still a lot of grants available, and we're going to talk a little bit more about that in a bit. Even the news, right? There's CSO Online reported that there's going to be 0% cybersecurity employment and 1 million jobs are unfilled. 1 million. That's a lot of jobs. And then, and what are we going to do about it, right? So Swag or Speak with a Geek, I don't know if you guys heard of them. They were at B-Sides Las Vegas in 2016, going around and interviewing some folks and asking them, what do you think we should do? And there were some people that essentially were shrugging their shoulders, and they don't know what we should do. And some people had some interesting ideas, and some people had some cutesy ideas. And if you want to see that video yourself, there's the bit.ly there. You can take a quick picture if you like, and then check it out. It's actually worth the time you spent. But, this is how I know about that video. This is my opinion on it. If we teach them young, even if they don't fill those InfoSec positions, they're going to be leading with security in whatever they do and whatever career they choose. I think that's just as important as having 1 million InfoSec jobs. If the people who are in positions to make decisions about engineering products, whether they're in InfoSec or not, but they're thinking about security first, will solve some of our problems before we know about them. Agree or disagree? Anytime, folks. I know it's in the afternoon. So I got one agree. Thank you. I'm going to buy you some ice cream later. So how do we come up with this? So 2 agrees. I'll get you an ice cream too, sir. So back channel chats. A friend of mine, Chris Sistrunk, big in ICS and SCADA. We were kind of just talking in a chat about this kind of problem, and the real simple version of it was, well, how do we integrate hacking into STEM, and does it really make sense, and does it belong there, does it not? And so we're coming up with all these different versions of the acronym, and maybe STEM-H would have been good, but we tried STEM with the S and the T and the H all mixed around, but we also tried one that was METHS, and we realized that's not really good. So we went with STEM, and the H is kind of silent. I mean, if you got upper respiratory problem, you can call it STEM. Or if, you're Jewish like me, you could say STEM, like you got to clear your throat. But, Chris threw this in there, what you talking about? What is this STEM thing? So, Chris and I, in our idea, we present to you introducing hacking into the concept of science, technology, engineering, and math. Now, STEM with an H or whatever other version you want to call it, just don't use METHS. Why would we do this? Well, some people would argue that hacking doesn't belong there. Science and mathematics are disciplines and methodologies used to solve problems, right? Technology and engineering applies science and mathematics to solve problems. Isn't hacking the application of all four of those to solve problems? I just got chills saying that. Doesn't it belong there? And if you argue and disagree, we could talk about it later because I'd love to hear your side of it. So, why do we have hackers nowadays? It's kind of, some people might have gone back. You remember this guy? This was a Packard Bell. Don't even ask me which processor. It was an old one. But we started as a hobbyist, right? I remember when my 286 was like really cool. But it's a hobby, and then later we kind of like get curious and we go into a BBS or something and we find some cookbooks and we start reading them and getting ideas, and we kind of start to think about, well, Mike used an example of with Zelda and dropping bombs to find a secret. But I know somebody who was going further than that, was actually reverse engineering Diablo 2 in order to create fake items just to beat the game. But, I didn't know him back then, but that caused my account to get suspended because somehow I bought one of those items in an auction. And that was really just a teenager's incentive to win. So incentive's a big part of what we do. Just even to, deface a web page back in the day, and now to find that O-Day, that's gonna get us a ton of money. But you can see some of these folks have actually made some pretty nice careers. There's Kevin from Mandiant, now FireEye. I'm sorry. Yeah, FireEye bought Mandiant. Sorry for a moment, a little brain fart. And then there's Mike. Where is he? This was actually a little gift to him. So there's a picture of him wearing a ton of badges at DEF CON in one of his signature Hawaiian shirts. But also the media has been picking up on this. I love the one that's in black and white. If you can't read it, it says, hackers can turn your home computer into a bomb. Who's ever done that? All right, Aaron, I know you have. All right, we got one confession. Right, it's kind of ridiculous. And then the sub was like, and blow your family to smithereens. It's like so hilarious. And then there's the other one where it's like, those damn hackers, they actually hacked the dam, so that was justifiable. But, it's always breaking into these services, like public services and ICS. And then the media, right? It seems like they're finally kind of listening to us and getting it right with Mr. Robot. Who's not watching that series? No public shaming. No public shaming. The hands went down real quick. No, you gotta watch it. And if you're opposed to watching it for whatever your political views, that's fine. But they're really illustrating kind of the stuff, the tools that we use every day and the thought process. Granted, there's some things in there that are probably not, things you want to teach kids. But the idea is, it's not like watching The Net or some of those other movies. So the media is finally listening and getting it. So education, this is really where it comes down to. So there's all this grant money and this funding, but when you kind of look at the education, so being a parent of having a kid who's 11, 9, and 5, I only really get exposure to whatever education level they're at. So like when they're in high school, I'm going to be doing more with high schools. When they're in college, I'll probably be doing a lot more with colleges. So I'm working with middle schools and elementary schools now to bolster their STEM. Even just, hey, look, let's just have a first Lego League team meeting here. Let's just do a demo. Get people interested in robotics and robotic programming and solving problems through the mechanical engineering that comes with robotics, just to kind of foster some of that through Hack for Kids. But when you think about like, okay, well, why would kids make good hackers? Well, first and foremost, they question authority, right? Other ones, they're quite persistent. As a parent, how many of you have had, your kids, they want something and you say, okay, maybe, and like they get excited with maybe because it's not no, but when my son just told me that the other day, he goes, I love it when you say maybe because it's not no. But when it's like, you say like not right now, it's very, very persistent. And then that's good. That's a good hacker trait to have. So we do want them to be persistent, but also, constructive with it. They're very innovative, and I've got some fun examples of that coming up soon, because they want to turn things upside down, look at it from different angles, see what they can do with it, break their toys and see if they can fix them and make them better. And great social engineers. In our house, my kids will come up to me and ask me for something, and I'll say, "What did your mom say?" Run off. "She said to ask you." Okay. Well, after a while, they learn to just answer with, "She said to ask you," without asking mom first. Little social engineer right there. So, we're getting wiser to his methodologies, and he's adapting and innovating to our countermeasures. Here's another great case study. So you could say like they're starting at 3rd grade, but even younger. This kid here, he was 5 years old. His dad works in IT. They had an Xbox. Dad was busy working, and the kid wanted to play with the Xbox. If you can find the video, it's really adorable. But the kid sat there, and he was just mashing keys at the login prompt until he caused a buffer overflow. 5-year-olds don't know what buffer overflows are, but he did it, and it got in, and he logged in, and he was playing video games. And when you watch it, it's kind of one of those, the videos like, "Yeah, and I was just hitting the buttons, and it logged in, so I could play games. Yay!" The kid was thrilled, and he actually got credit from Microsoft for finding a vulnerability that they patched. 5 years old. And then there's Benny. Benny is very active with computers, as all my kids are, but, we'll kind of just use Benny as an example of the barrier, or the age barrier for computers is going lower and lower and lower. Reading is not a requirement anymore. Patience, sorta. Any kind of math, not necessary at all. Doesn't really take much. 2-year-olds can log in and start swiping and tapping icons. It's great that it's that simple to use. What problems is that creating for us? And education. Here's another fun example. So this was from one that Chris Sistrunk's son did. I think he was like 8 or 9 when he did it. And who's ever heard of MIT Scratch? A lot of fun. It's like Legos for programming. It's really cool. Even if you're an adult and you really don't know how to code and you want to know how to code, this is actually a pretty good starting point. Because things are color-coded, they snap together if they should, and you just kind of drop them almost wherever you want. You don't have to worry too much about syntax and indentation and stuff like that, or even commenting. But here's one where Chris's son was going to make a Pong game. And, he wants to innovate. So in this particular case, he's like, well, every time there's like the ball is hit by player 1, create like a random color, player 2, random color, just kind of making it psychedelic. And then he had it where it was like growing until it was like just a big psychedelic blinking light on the computer. He also had like the paddle of the other player. So every time like he hit it as player 1, his paddle got bigger, player 2's paddle got smaller. So he was just kind of having all these kind of fun things. But what do you think a 9-year-old would name a fun Pong program like this? I know, it's funny and it's cute, but really, are we any different? No, I don't think so. So here's some case studies kind of back up the point about education. There's a lot going on, but I still don't think it's enough. Hack for Kids example, is the one I know very closely. I'll spare you folks my pontificating about it, but we're going to do an event with CypherCon on Saturday, which I'm very thrilled about. It's like pretty much sold out, and that was kind of really unexpected, only because we didn't really promote it that hard. We just growing pains and want to be prepared. But it's going to be here. So if you know anybody who wants to bring someone from ages 7 to 17 in, we're still going to accept some walk-ins because we expect there'll be a little attrition, but we're going to be prepared to handle some walk-ins. So if you guys want to bring somebody, that'd be cool. Roots Asylum, formerly known as DEF CON Kids, that was one of the first introductions that I've ever had to kids going to a hacker conference. And right away when my son, he was 7, he's like, what's the minimum age? I'm like 8. And he's like, I want to go to Vegas with you. I'm like, I don't know about that, buddy. What are we going to tell your mom? But there's a lot of other things out there like Cyber Boot Camp. There's stuff for adults like Interrupt. There's also Cyber Patriot. And Cyber Patriot, while it, I think, kind of began with high school, it's all the way down to middle school, and they even have something for elementary. So we're starting to teach kids red teaming and blue teaming at a really early age, like almost at the time that they're really learning how to use a computer, which I think is really, really cool. There's another program I just learned about that I'm going to get involved with. It's called Gen Cyber. I had a really good opportunity to speak with somebody from the National Science Foundation last week, and she was telling me about this program where it's different ages. I don't want to get into too much of the details because of the time constraint, but if you're thinking of like high school age, that's correct, but it goes all the way down to middle school, and they don't have any programs in Illinois or Wisconsin. Here's a great opportunity for all of us here from this area to start a program, to file a grant, and then to begin some of this education that's very local to us. One bit of advice on that, if you decide to do it, you have to partner. Well, actually, you don't have to. It makes it a lot easier for you if you partner with an established education entity, so like like an EDU or a middle school or a high school, and have it as a partnership rather than, hi, my name's Bob and I want some money because I'm going to teach kids how to hack. That doesn't go over very well. You want to actually get partnered with a school that's going to have like pedagogy experts who can then just say, okay, this is what we're going to do, have rubrics and measure it, and then report back on, all your success. So now, how am I doing on time? Okay, good. Sorry. Just want to be mindful of the next presenter who's staring at me right now. So I want to tell you a little story because I think the stories are the real big takeaways here. So I'm going to tell you about Bob. And I met Bob, I think it was in 2015 at Circle City Con in Indianapolis. So we did a village there, a Hack for Kids village. Bob liked computers. Bob's 14, and Bob said, yeah, I don't know what this stuff is, but I'll learn. And there was a spy math or crypto corner, I think we called it at the time. And he sat down, and he goes, what is this stuff? So the admin, or that's what we call our volunteers, was there with Bob and teaching him how to decode binary and showed him very rotation ciphers or simple Caesar ciphers or whatever you want to call them. And then even like other kind of like monoalphabetic substitution ciphers, like Bionicle is a common one, or Pigpen, even Base 64. And Bob was really into cracking these things. Like, he just did not want to stop and do anything else. We had a lot of other fun things going on, but this is what Bob loved. Bob had no idea this is something that he would be very interested into doing. And that's really what we're about, is really introducing all these different types of methodologies and disciplines that we kind of take for granted or we use tools for, but Bob wanted to sit there and crack these codes manually. He was there all day and got through, I think we had 8, and got through all 8 of them manually, which is impressive, especially for a 14-year-old that has no prior experience. But what I found also very interesting is, just like when my kids come home from school and I go, well, how was your day? What'd you learn? Nothing. What'd you do? Nothing. Okay, you were there all day and you did nothing. What is my tax dollars going to? But with Bob, it was the same thing. Bob, when his dad says, oh, how was Hack for Kids? Oh, it was good. What'd you learn? Nothing. But I wrote an email to Bob's dad because we had some other prior interactions, and I let him know how he impressed all of us and that this is something that he should really explore with his son because he really was starting to develop a proficiency for it. And rather than letting it fall to the wayside, they should definitely go further. And he wrote back and he's like, I had no idea. My son told me that it was just fun and he didn't say what he did. And I'm really appreciative of you guys, doing what you do and letting me know what my son now knows and what he likes or loves, and I'm definitely going to pursue it further with him. That, to me, is highly valuable, because Bob could be one of the next people who is somebody that writes an algorithm, right? The next Tahir El-Gamel that writes an algorithm to protect our data on the internet. We don't know if he is or not. We're not going to keep in touch with Bob and kind of stalk him and see how he does, but we hope that we've made a difference in his life. So someone else's life that I know we made a difference in is Alice. Oh, and by the way, Bob went back to 2 more Hack for Kids after that. We saw him in Chicago, and we saw him again in Indianapolis in 2016. So Alice, we met her in Detroit. So we did another village there at B-Sides Detroit. And Alice had a really rough start. And this to me is makes me feel really good about what we're doing and the people whose lives we really are changing. Alice was born into a household with parents that had chemical addictions. One was alcohol and one was drugs. I don't know which is which. It doesn't matter. But, so she was growing up without basic necessities or taking like my kids take for granted of sleeping in a warm bed every night, having clothes that fit, eating 3 meals a day or more. Take a look at us. My mom's my wife's a great cook, their mom. So, she didn't have these things or even going to school regularly, okay? But then, she was adopted by a couple people in IT and they came to Hack for Kids or B-Sides Detroit where we had, the Hack for Kids in the basement. And she was like kind of interested in computers, but again, like Bob, not very proficient. So one of the things that we did there was we had a sumo bot competition, right? A lot of fun. You get EV3, you start building it out. You want to put like a nice big wall in front of it and destroy other bots. Well, we do this. We had about 12 kids there. She was the second one to go and have her bot compete. And she beat the first person and everybody after that. Nobody else beat Alice. And because we had a prize for first place, she won a $25 gift card, which, to us, $25, that might be a meal or a night drinking or something. But to somebody who was was born into the world like Alice, that's a lot of money. That's a big deal. And she was thrilled. But wait, it gets better. We also do an online CTF. So we had some of those kind of crypto challenges. She got through just about all of those. And her mom was with her. And one of the things that we do is we tell the parents, ask your kids if they look stuck, if they want like time or coaching. Don't kind of hover over them or helicopter and force them to do it. You want them to do it. You want them to make mistakes so they can learn. So she did very well, and I observed, and her mom was very respectful of our request. We had some social engineering and OSN stuff. She was able to get through that pretty easily. Lock picking, I think she popped most of the locks. We go up to 6 pin. I think she got as far as 5, so she got a lot of points there. We had some electronic badges that we had custom built last year, so she was the only one that was able to figure it out. We had 3 badges. And there was 3 different codes, and she figured out the code on the first badge, so she got points for that. And because of all her hard work, she tied for first place in the CTF. She tied, never having done any of this stuff before, with another kid whose parent works in InfoSec and may or may not have coached. I don't want to kind of create any kind of controversy, but it was great because now she got to pick a prize from all the prizes that we had out. She picked a Kana kit, so now she got $25 and a cool, fun, low-powered hacking platform. That was a great day for us and for her. I think more for us. So how do we go further? We need to engage students. We need to be mentors. We need to teach the kids to be mentors as we're teaching them also how to be leaders. There's a lot that they can do. You guys know about Raspberry Pis. There's crypto challenges. You can go even Python for kids. We've done stuff like that. But, getting any of these books will help the kids start to develop some of these skills. Hack for Kids always has a CTF that goes on with an event. So Saturday, if you want to participate, that's fine. But if you're older than 17 and you're not present, you don't get a prize, so don't send me an email asking for one. But there's another one that's like the Neverland CTF. That one's for middle schoolers. That one was great. Helped coach some kids, my son and a couple of his friends, get through that one. So there's stuff going on. There's activities. But the problem with being a hacker is the overall public perception. So we need to stop talking about cyber criminals as hackers. Hackers are innovators. We find flaws. We push technology further. Without us, we'd still be using a TRS-80 Model 3 with the 48K RAM that I have in my garage my wife wants me to throw away. So please stop using the term hacker synonymous with cyber criminal. It's also funding and where to go. So here's Wisconsin's quick map. I found this. So anyone a member of Appleton Makerspace? Nobody? Okay. Are they still active? If you're in the area, you might want to give them a call or an email. Sector 67, Bueller. The Milwaukee Hackerspace. You see the icon up there? So there's a lot of cool things going on in Wisconsin. You guys just got to go to them. So I thought this would be fun to throw up there. And some of them are pretty kid-friendly. But call first. And a lot of them are going to be able to get funding from NSF if they're a 501c3. So you can create a hackerspace or join one and help them out and get some funding. I'm almost done. Also the proximity. You know, we're not all so close together. And I know Wisconsin's a big state and a lot of farmland, and you guys make some awesome cheese. So I'm very happy to be here. We're going to be hitting the cheese castle on the way home. But when you're out there in the rural areas, there's the Rural Technology Fund. So there's ways even for people who are farming the land to get money to teach their kids STEM. We need you. Everybody here is responsible for this. It's all of our futures. If you think it's not, think again. Don't be so apathetic. So in conclusion, here's Benny. What could Benny do differently? What could we do differently with Benny? What could you do with the kids and the other adults or people that you're exposed to whose lives that you can change and make a difference? One small change from each of us makes a big difference. And of course, you know, we need a theme song. So drink all the Kool-Aid, hack all the things. Oh yeah! Thank you, CypherCon. Anybody have questions? I'll be available to speak with you later. Should I put my shoes back on?
Yes. Oh. We have a bunch of drinks.
Oh.
All right. Thanks, Dave. No, I'm going to take your laptop. So, all right. So, we tried to cut opening ceremony really short to keep things on time. I want to do a few mentions. Tomorrow we have a dedicated wireless capture the flag starting at 9 a.m. at the 23rd floor of the Pfister Hotel. And, it's going to be, war driving around Milwaukee looking for wireless signals. It's going to be all sorts of shenanigans. So I hope you can, bring your laptop and play with some wireless. And, we're working on getting the badges to everybody that gets a digital badge, so bear with us. And I want to introduce Beluv, our puzzle master. He's got all sorts of tricks up his sleeve, and I'll let him talk about it because I have no clue. So thank you, everybody.
Oh, you can keep it here. Good evening. I'm speaking simply because I had stipulated into the rules that the contest doesn't start until after I talk. So here I've talked. The details about my contest, it is a cipher and puzzle challenge. It is not necessarily encryption, so you're not going to be breaking RSA encryption or learning algorithms. It will make you think outside the box. So our keynote speaker who just spoke, he suffered through my challenge last year. It makes things painful if you refuse to think outside the box. Am I correct on that?
Yes.
Okay. Yes.
I still beat you.
You did. You did. It was a good challenge. Of particular note, solving my crypto challenge is one of 3 ways to get a lifetime badge. So there are only 3 ways to get a lifetime badge. Solving my crypto challenge is one of them. I will be downstairs at the Crypto Village, and you can feel free to contact me and figure out how you can start my challenge. So thanks you again.